vlog. This is how you do a season finale. So I really enjoyed this episode. This is easily the best episode of the season, where we have Pike and he's starting to figure out how to escape his fate. And I really like how, he's been slowly burning towards it. I would have liked a little bit more of a feed in through the other episodes, so it really had a massive payoff here. But obviously with his visions and stuff, it does sort of come into it. He's visited by his future self. It did give me a little bit of that sort of Christmas special where he's visited by the ghost, but I did like the contrast between our Pike that we know and obviously the future one. I know the uniform has something to do with, it's got to be a symbol for something. I don't know what it is. And before you sort of jump at me in the comments, just remember this is my first Star Trek sort of experience. So let me know about what the uniform sort of represents. So our Pike, obviously, he always seems a little bit incompetent. He sort of goes around sort of just doing whatever he wants. Where I liked how the future one was much more serious, and he had that little bit of a gruffness to him that you were all right, he's kind of seen some things. And the little time stone, which looked like kryptonite from the Superman universe, but if that's what the time stones are, then that's fine. I did like the time travel. I always liked time travel, and I like how it they didn't really set up the parameters of it. It was more like a vision, so that was kind of cool, rather than if I change one thing here, it's going to wreck the current timeline. It was more like, this is the future if you decide to do this action. Spock's mind thing, there's lots of things going on, and I'm sure there are a number of payoffs to the nostalgia of all the other Star Trek stuff, like Spock's mind thing where he's I don't know how he does the fingers, but he goes into Pike's mind and he gets to see it, but he doesn't really understand what he's seeing. And there was a little bit of a payoff there. I did like it, how Spock is kind of getting a little bit more information and stuff. And obviously he's going to be one of the go-to guys because that's what Spock does. He's the old logical and comes up with getting out of sticky situations. The visual space battles were awesome. It was really cool. Everything about it was stylish. It was slick, and it was just a visual feast. I really liked, they were what the original Birds of Prey and the Romulans. They were cool. I really liked them. The cloaking ship, that felt like a real big threat. But I don't understand when it shoots its plasma lasers. Why isn't people trying to avoid it? There was one where they actually attacked the Enterprise and it was just brace for impact. Wouldn't you try and do a maneuver? And why, when ships get hit, shouldn't they have seatbelts? I know when ships take off, the astronauts and stuff strapped down, I just kind of feel you should probably have some seatbelts. If you are engaging in space combat, wouldn't it be ideal to, be strapped down and so you can be at the controls if you get hit or get knocked around? I don't know, it's just a thing that I've never really thought about until I saw people getting knocked over. Wouldn't it be ideal if they were actually strapped in so they could then do their maneuvers or whatever and have that reaction time? But whatever. The music and the editing in this was actually really cool. So anytime there was a dramatic or emotional shift, the music comes in. They've blended music so well in this episode. So you have when the cloaked ship actually does hail and we get to the Romulans sort of reveal and it zooms in on Spock's face. So the Vulcans and the Romulans are obviously they're related somehow because visually they look pretty similar. Just the Romulans look a little bit more angry and confused at the same time. They got that bulge in the middle of the head and the eyebrows go up. So I guess they are related, and then Spock does raise an eyebrow, and as it zooms in, I did like the little touches, and the syncing of the music was sick. It was great. Pike's doing his captain's log after he meets Kirk, and he's Kirk sort of does his own thing. He's a little bit wild, but Pike, you do this all the time, mate. I like the little the conflict between them. It's not really conflict, but the contrast between the two. They obviously are reasonably similar, and I know Kirk. The nostalgia there, I believe he's the one that becomes the Captain Kirk that was from the original series. Let me know in the comments below. But that's what I felt like was happening, and I really liked that character and his different shifts between it when he's bringing in the poker face bluff when you're having the two stands off between the Federation and the Romulans, where it's just the standing on the edge of the space battle to see who's going to declare war first. And like the Romulans are cool. I really like their like brutality in terms of you can kind of do whatever you want, but if you get caught, you're going to be sacrificed. So I like that kind of style, and they just sort of sent them out off to their death, and all the firing and the space battles where James is like putting the droids in front of him, and like everything about it was cool. It was like that the mental chess game that was happening between the Romulans and Pike. But I really liked when Pike, about halfway through the episode, started to really feel the sort of demand that needed from the captain, where he started yelling at his crew, and it felt like he finally took control, where normally it's like an emotionless delivery in terms of his lines, but then he was starting to like really have a bit more of that demeanor of, this is my ship, this is what's going to happen. Like when he's talking to the female Romulan who's on there, who's obviously the commander. I did like the little standoff. That was cool. Where this is a Pike that I wanted, rather than the sort of like carefree, bumbling sort of idiot that's kind of come around in the last few episodes, where Pike, I really want him to take control. The ending is kind of cool. Obviously, you got Pike and Spock having that emotional connection, where Pike is trying to tell him that how much he values him and about his fate, and Spock is like, I kind of owe you like a sense of gratitude. I don't know what, but I feel like I should. Like Spock is able to pick up on so many things that we never knew that he could, but like it plays into it out well for obviously season 2 with number 1 or Uno being taken away. And I like how Pike was not happy about it, but she was like reassured him, and there was a little bit more of an internal conflict that was going on. Like that, it was cool. I'm interested to see how that's going to happen. I'm not sure what really she would be arrested for, but I'm assuming it's something to do with her like previous past or whatever it is. Let me know in the comments. I don't really have that much wrong with this episode. Like everything was good. This was probably the best episode, easily the best episode of the season. And it was just really cool to see. Like everything about it was good. Like that hour flew by. Like I was really engaged in it. There was a technical, I don't know what it was, but when Pike's walking through the med bay and the camera switches, it felt like he wasn't walking. Like he was just kind of floating. It felt really weird and really odd. Like visually, it was weird. Like I'm not sure if that was just a technical choice, or was it meant to be him being a bit sort of stunned and overwhelmed by the actual, like all the injuries and the casualties that were going on. But like it was not visually nice to look at. When they're all sitting around the round table, I'm sick of Pike just sort of, having these random talks with his crew where it felt forced. There was a little bit of humour here, but everything around that round table when they're sort of coming up with a plan just felt forced. So I feel like we could have done that differently. It could have been the two captains just talking about strategy rather than putting everyone in there and just trying to give them lines. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm really excited to see where it goes for season 2. And like, this is the standard that I want them to be able to try and hit every episode. I know this was a season finale, so they would have put a little bit of extra care, but I like the time travel, I like the choice, and we're finally getting that progressive story that's been teased for Pike all this time. And it's really, really did have the payoff. I like the conflict between the Romulans and the Enterprise, and all of that was really cool. Like they actually felt like they were in danger, and yeah, I'm keen to see where they go for season 2. I will definitely be keeping up with the series, and yeah, let me know what you thought below, and you know what to do. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell your friends.